Change orders and impacting cash flow. Does that happen to subcontractors? Absolutely. It actually happens to everyone, but the impact to subcontractors is what we're going to talk about today. My name is Scott Peper. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Mobilization Funding. And for the last 10.5 years, we've been watching and showing and dealing with, alongside our customers, exactly how they manage through these change orders, both the negative impacts and the positives. So what are change orders? Well, by definition, change orders are quite simply just a change in the scope of work. So whatever the defined scope of work is, if it's changed, that is considered a change order. That's the most simplistic definition. Depending on who you are or where you are in the project, subcontractors can have a lot of different change orders that they feel. But from an owner's perspective, and even a general contractor, a change order is a change in scope, anyway, period. And so as you get through the project, general contractors and subcontractors, they understand a lot better than an owner or a bank that there's some nuance to what a change order is. There's a lot of different types. Obviously, the easiest change order to manage is an owner-directed change order. If the owner comes up with a new thing, it's pretty easy to get paid, okay? But there's method change orders, there's material change orders, there's delay change orders, there's change orders that sometimes just need to be had because it costs more. It takes more time. Maybe it was badly bid. In this video, we're going to talk about the things that are going to help you manage through these change orders, the different types of ones, and how you can still succeed and be successful for the overall project. The impact to subcontractors for change orders can be quite significant. So first, we're going to go through a couple things. Number one, any change order, in my opinion, adds risk to the subcontractor. And why is that? Because they're going to manage that change order the most, they're going to have the most impact to it. So you're going to have a payment delay, you're going to have increased costs, you're going to have more cash going out the door sooner to manage those costs, and you're going to have a delay in that money coming back. Those key things are critical to have to understand exactly what you can do to make sure you're successful getting through these delays. And lastly, the uncertainty and the financial instability that these change orders can cause, for not only for the project, but for your business, can be quite significant. So first, I want to dispel a myth. I personally have seen and now believe and understand wholeheartedly that any strategy to win a contract at a very minimal margin so that you can create change orders that are going to be your profit center is a very bad strategy. Does it happen? Can it be successful? Absolutely. But if your strategy is to bid the contract low, ultimately going to be a strategy that's going to bite you in the ass. And I promise you that bite is going to hurt, and it's going to hurt bad. I've seen it, and I've never seen it be successful for a long period of time. So that's number one. Now, let's talk about ways to manage around change orders. The first thing that you should do with a change order is you should make sure that you outline your scope of work very clearly. The more detail you have in your scope of work, the better off you're going to be. If you say in your scope of work that you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then it requires you to do W, X, Y, and Z, that's clearly going to be a change order. The other thing you can do in your contract is outline exactly when you will charge for a change order and how you will charge for a change order. If in your contract, you and your general contractor or you and the owner have already agreed what your scope of work is and it's detailed, and you've already agreed for how you're going to charge for the change order and how you're going to create the change order based off of a difference in scope or detail, you're already 75 to 80% of the way through the change order process. And that saves you time, saves you energy, and it also saves the relationship between you and your contractor or you and your customer. Now, let's talk about managing the increased cost of change orders. If it's a material change or a labor change or both, you're going to have extra cost, and those extra costs have to be quantified one way or another. Now, material's pretty easy. If you have X amount of material budgeted and you need X times 2 amount of material, well, that's quite simple. But how do you get your material paid for, but also the profit and margin? How do you get that extra material? How do you get the labor to install that extra material? That's why I'm saying it's so critical for you to outline these in your contract upfront and in advance, because these are the easiest and most simple ways for you to manage those. The first thing I told you is change orders add significant risk to the project, and they do. And now here's why. The added risk that's caused from a change order with increased cost, instability of the project, possible change in schedule, possible change in timing for when material is going to arrive, possible changes in when you need your labor force at a certain place depending on other projects you have or the delays on this project, those are all significant risks. And risks have costs implications, but they also have performance implications. So the risk added to these projects with change orders is a couplefold. Number one, we talked about the costs, okay? But number two, if you don't perform on that project because of a change order or because of a change in scope, no one's going to remember that, oh, it was the change in scope. They're just going to remember you didn't perform. It's very critical that you manage around these with contingencies, not only in your contract, but also in your project, in your plan, and your budget. So those are the critical items that you really need to look after, because that extra risk, if you're not thinking about a change order as a risky proposition to a project, then you need to reconsider it. Certainly, change orders can be opportunistic. Certainly, change orders can also cause pain. But not knowing that there's risk associated to that is where you can really get hurt. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So now let's talk about mitigating the impact of the risk associated with these change orders. First, we talked about the contractual changes you can make. Second, we talked about the contingencies, the costs you can put in place. We talked about changing your schedule to make sure that your team, your project managers, and everyone else are on the same page. So what does that mean? That means that if there's a change order, how does it impact the schedule, timing-wise? But also, how does it impact the method or the way in which you're going to go about executing that change order? Has your team on the ground identified that something's a change order? Have you communicated it to the general contractor or owner? How have you communicated that to them? This is the key thing. Communication of a change order at the moment in time that it occurs is very important. And so you have to educate your team as a leader on that project to make sure that your team's not doing work without identifying that it's a change order. To you, for sure, but also to your project manager and to your customer. When your customer identifies and has a chance to see that something was a change order or it's a change in scope, they can agree on it right then and there. The next thing you have to do is get it in writing. Put it in an email at a minimum. If there's a change order form or change order process, make sure it happens. One of the best ways that we've seen subcontractors protect themselves from change orders is they go about having a weekly meeting with their general contractor on exactly change orders. It's part of the agenda. What change orders have been done, they go back through and they look at the daily logs that their team has put together. They identify any change orders that were occurring right away. But just the mere fact that they have a meeting on the books standing every week to discuss change orders, and sometimes that meeting gets canceled. That's great. It means there's no change orders. But if that meeting's on the books and you have it every week, you can identify change orders not only between your scope of work and your customer, but you can also help your general contractor identify those scopes of work with other trades. Because as you all know, when one change order occurs, it has a ripple effect throughout the other trades. And it can have one change order can have a ripple effect across all the trades. So if you're the person spearheading that communication and leading from the front, you actually have an opportunity now to look even better, to perform even better, and to be a real asset to your customer on that project. And that's one way to take something that adds extra risk, change orders, and turn it into a positive for yourself. At the same time, protecting yourself. And then internally, having effective and efficient cash management for your change order, making sure that you know, is this a big change order, small change order, but how's it going to impact my cash flow? Cash flow is so critical to a project. It is so important to the success or failure of it that any change in scope, any change in schedule, anything at all, especially a change order, can impact that. And so what is the ramifications of the impact? What are the changes that you need to look at on your cash flow for that project that this change order is going to impact? And if it's minimal, no problem. You just keep going. If it's maximal, how are you going to fix it? What are you going to do? Those are the things you want to know. But not knowing is a real problem. And those are the things that can also come back and bite you in the ass. And that's what we're trying to avoid. Change orders are risky. We've talked about it at length. We talked about what change orders are, the types of change orders, how you can manage the risk, how you can manage the cash flow. We talked about the solutions, bringing your team together, the communication, how important it is, and we talked about the cash flow. Make sure you're aware of that. But planning for cash flow changes with your change orders is critical. We also discussed having a strategy to win contracts and then make up your profit on the change orders is a very flawed strategy that will ultimately hurt you. Do not do it. Okay, can you get away with it? Sure. But is it going to always be good? Absolutely not. And we've seen the biggest disasters happen right from there. Lastly, if you want one of these shirts, when you go talk to your customer about change orders and how to pay me, just let us know. Subscribe to the channel, send us a DM, and we'll make sure to send you a shirt. Include your shirt size and we'll send one to you. If this video has been helpful, please share it with your friends, share it with your team, and let us know other ways we can help you. Thank you very much. Have a great day and God bless you.